special presentation.
Mr. Kitch and Mrs. Delverde are here tonight. They are doing a great opportunity for our kids, and they are going to speak to that. So,
Hello, everybody. And those of you here for the meeting, these are some of our students. We are here today because we have some unique opportunities, and for once, I don't have to ask you for anything, which is great. We've been given the opportunity through a grant to do some things that we've never been able to do with the bands here in Norwalk, and we've been able to expand it a pretty big distance. So I'm going to let Ms. Dalberty start, and then we're going to talk about kind of what's going on, and some students are going to talk about kind of their feelings towards it as we go.
So the GeoTrack Foundation of Norwalk provides funding for projects that bring the world to Norwalk. This project began about a year ago as an opportunity for our students to play an integral part in the creation of music through the commissioning of a new piece specifically designed for them. Specifically, the 8th grade band is where this project began. In addition to meeting and working with the composer himself, a generous grant from the GeoTrack Foundation is making this entire project possible. So this is where Jorge Vargas comes into play. For our winter concert back in December, the 8th grade band played a piece called A Mariachi Christmas by Jorge Vargas. They had a great time playing it, and I decided to reach out to Mr. Vargas and ask him if he would be interested in writing a piece for our 8th grade band. Our 8th grade band this year is very large, 64 students, which is very exciting and represents a really good portion of our student population in the 8th grade class at the middle school. Mr. Vargas began his career as a composer, writing mariachi band music and orchestra music, in addition to now 22 concert band works, a lot of them inspired by the mariachi or paso doble styles. He is also a middle school band director in Eagle Pass, Texas, at Memorial Junior High. Mr. Vargas, a lot of his work is heavily influenced by that mariachi style, and so it's an opportunity for us to bring music from other parts of the world to our students. And with the funding from the GeoTrack Foundation, we are able to expand this project far beyond the one piece of music for 8th grade.
Yeah, so the plan evolved a little bit since we got this whole thing started. Turns out Mr. Vargas was quite cost effective compared to where our budget was. So we were able to stretch it to another piece, and so we added one for our high school students. Our wind ensemble will also be playing a new piece. And since we decided now there were 2 bands involved, that we should try to involve everybody if we could. So our 6th grade students are working on a piece by Mr. Vargas, so our 7th grade students, our 8th grade students are doing their new one. Our high school concert band is working on one he's already written. And now our wind ensemble is also working on a new piece. So we got everybody working on a Jorge Vargas work. And as a part of the grant, we're going to be able to bring him to Norwalk on May 9th with all of our students all the way up. And then he'll conduct them on the concert that evening that I'll invite you to in just a second. So that's how the plan is kind of evolved, and there's a small hitch in it. We'll talk about it in a minute. Because his music is mariachi driven, but first I'm going to let some of our students talk about their thoughts about the situation. So, Chloe, want to lead off?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm very excited, and it's an awesome opportunity because not many schools have an opportunity to A, have a song written for them, and B, have that composer come in to work with them and conduct a concert. And I'm assuming it's not like easy, like you just say, hey, come and write a song.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
Eli?
I'm most excited for actually meeting Jorge Vargas. It's not every day you get to meet the composer that is going to be the song you're going to be playing, and it's brand new, so it's going to be really cool to learn from him and learn how to play a new style of mariachi that we haven't worked with yet. So I think it's going to be a good experience to be able to play.
You didn't have anything else to add? You could say it. It's okay.
Oh, usually the composers are dead.
You said that earlier. I thought it was worth bringing up at the moment.
I just think it's really cool, at the Wind Ensemble, we have a really special group, and I think it's neat that we get to have a piece that was specifically designed for us to suit our wants and needs, so.
And Genevieve?
It's really cool to have somebody come into our school though and actually perform the thing, because you never get to see that normally in the normal concert and stuff, for especially a public school though. This is a crazy opportunity, and I'm really excited about it.
Thank you guys very much. And we've been able to expand the whole thing even further, mostly because of the deficiency. Ms. Dalaverdi and I have never played mariachi music in our entire lives. So because of that, we wanted an opportunity to bring in something a little bit more authentic. And so we found a mariachi band in Columbus, a professional mariachi group that would come and play for our students. And when we realized this was getting a little bigger, I decided to open it up to as many people in the district as we could. I don't know, you guys get the emails to everyone, so I'm hoping you saw it. But we offered teachers the opportunity, anybody who could tie this into their curriculum somehow, we've invited to the concert where we play and the mariachi concert on the 25th. And on that day, I can show you the bands right now, actually. On Monday, March 25th, by the way, you're all invited, all of you. It will be 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. that afternoon. We've had 8 teachers from the district, including the English teachers in 7th grade, so all of the 7th graders. And several other teachers are bringing their students to this performance as well. We've got right now 650 people coming to that performance. So that should be a really big day. And I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be a lot of fun. So they are coming. And then our concert, again, you are all invited on May 9th. It'll start at 7 p.m. here. It's also the high school art show. And anybody who decides to work this into some part of the classroom that can produce something we could display, we hope to display it someplace. And the high school art teachers are also involved. So this should be a really big event for everything. And we were kind of told to tell you guys this too. It's not really related to this, but Ms. Dalaverdi and I were selected to kind of bring a little bit of Norwalk to the rest of the world. This summer, we get the opportunity to present at the International Society for Music Education's World Conference in Helsinki, Finland. So we're going to go far and talk about co-teaching because we do a lot of that. We're both still surviving. So that's the key. So that is the end of our presentations. A lot of good news, but we thought you guys should hear it and be involved too. And again, really, any of these events you would like to be a part of, if you want to let me know, let me know. If not, just you're welcome, obviously, to come on in and check them out. Thank you, everybody.
So thank you very much for what you do. Clearly, these two are part of the musical department that we say, no kid in Norwalk can make a wrong option. Like, Guild Choir, orchestra, band, you're going to be in a winning outfit no matter what you choose. And that just shows like you guys are continually challenging kids, pushing the envelope, making each other better. So thank you very much for what you do.
And once here are volunteers, I'd like to make sure that's said. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any follow-up or anything? Maybe we could like, since that one is from 1 to 2, maybe we could stream that or something. For everyone, I don't know.
I'll have to check copyright situations.
yeah,
What
okay.
they're like.
I didn't think about that.
Not a lot of music is traditional, so it would not have a copyright situation. So I'll ask them.
Yeah.
I can reach out tomorrow.
Very good. Student Wellness and Success Funds Report.
So Dan and I were
Whoever's
Okay.
gonna start that.
tag team on this a little bit.
Okay. A few years ago, it's a few years ago now, Ohio introduced with its Future Forward, a state strategic priority to kind of help with recovering from COVID-19. It was called the Student Wellness and Success Funds and Disadvantaged Pupil Impact Aid Plan. And these funds were given to help our students, obviously with the pandemic, but was to create partnerships with our local agencies to provide services for them, mental health services, health services. So we've been using this money, and tonight I'll kind of go through a few things of how this money has been used. The Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Ohio, very familiar with that. We use those funds to help provide those the after-school program that focuses on success, healthy lifestyles, character, and citizenship. So that was the partnership that we have with the Boys and Girls Club. Fisher Titus Medical Center, providing school nursing and therapy services. Family and Children First Council, they provide a lot of the wraparound services for our students, which is very important. Huron County Health Department, providing screening and physical health services. And within our district, providing literacy specialists. That has been a very aggressive initiative in our district to help with literacy support, with having two literacy specialists and mental health counseling services. So that is how we have been using our student wellness and success funds and our disadvantaged people impact.
Just to highlight on how much money we're talking about. Student Wellness and Success started back in fiscal 20, which is actually the 1920 school year. It was part of Governor DeWine's initiative to try and do more for wellness. It was a separate fund. It went into the 467 fund, and it was kept, although it was termed to be our state funding, it was kept separate and it was slightly restricted. I did pass out the comparison that shows you what the different things can be used for. There were only 11 different items we could use it for: mental health services, services for homeless youth, child welfare involved youth, community liaisons, physical health care, mentoring, family engagement, City Connect programming, PD regarding the provision of trauma-informed care, PD for cultural competence, and student services provided to or after the regularly scheduled school day or anytime school is not in session, which is how we used it for the Boys and Girls Club. So originally, in the first 2 years, we received $1.4 million in student wellness funds that went into our 467 fund. Remember, this is back in fiscal 20. We're now in 24. There was only funding those first 2 years, the $1.4 million, and we've slowly been using that up over time. We do, with the new 24-25 budget, have to spend that by the end of next school year. We'll be using that both for Boys and Girls Club and to pay our guidance counselors when we're out of ESSER money. So that's the plan for that. Then the state, with the 2021 or 22, which is the 21-22 school year, they incorporated more state student wellness and success money, but it's actually into our regular general fund state funding. So it's a 001. It's no longer separate into that. And it does have the same restrictions on it that we need to use it for certain things. We also have to have a community partner, and they list who we're allowed to have for a community partner. So it's an ESC, like North Point. We could use the County Board of Developmental Disabilities, a mental health treatment provider, the general health district for the city, Job and Family Services, any nonprofit organization that has experience serving children, which is how we use Family and Children First, or a public hospital agency. In fiscal 22, we received $463,000. In 23, it was $465,000, and this year it's $496,000. And that money all needs to be spent in the year after it was received, even though it's just general fund dollars. So we've been using it for these things. We've also been using it for our guidance counselors. And next year, when we don't have ESSER, we'll be using for our family support and liaison. Jackie White will be coming out of that. So those are the plans going forward there. We're down to about $445,000 left in our 467 fund. So it'll be finished well in time, the deadline of June 30, 2025.
Is there any plan on continuing this or?
Well, so we never know what's going to happen into the next budget. The 467 is done. It was only those first 2 years, and it did not continue. It got rolled into the regular state foundation funding. It will probably go forward, but it's not additional money. It's just part of your regular state money that's now been restricted to these specific purposes. And this year, for 24 and 25, at least 50% of that money has to go to physical or mental health services.
Is there potential to partner with like family health services? And I know they've like worked with a bunch of other districts in this area. I just didn't know if that's something that we've ever looked into or would want to, or maybe there's like a non-compete or something, I don't know. Just to expand on.
Do they provide the nursing or the mental health? Because I think we've talked to different, but I'm not sure what the.
We actually have a meeting coming up
Oh, okay.
to discuss. So agencies, some are, we have those services available, and then some we have them provided ourselves, and others
Sure.
like where we use an agency to come in and obviously have access to our kids during that window of time.
Yeah.
So sometimes there's a part that we need to protect the school day,
Yeah.
but also in some cases, we need access because maybe the school day is the only chance that the student has to get services,
For sure.
mental health, medical, whatever, maybe during that window. So it's kind of a balancing act of what we can do and where others need to help us.
Absolutely. I get that. I was curious.
So on that side, we'll have to kind of, relook at the Boys and Girls Club and how we're funding it. So we have after next school year?
After next school year.
Okay.
And we are getting close to naming a director, so Mrs. Smith at Pleasant has been serving as the director, and we have a person, so we have a discussion on that tomorrow and hope to offer the position. So Mrs. Smith is ready for the handoff. She's been doing double duty principal and at the evening hours, so very much is wanting that additional support.
Really appreciate her stepping up and doing that. That's really great. Anything else? Anybody? Okay, treasurer's report.
Okay, so, February financial reports, I sent you out some information on that. There wasn't too much that happened in February. We did receive our second settlement for the property tax. The final one came in March, so we'll hear about that next month, now that it's all in. We did, have 2 new CDs. The interest rates are dropping, unfortunately, but I am trying to get some out there. Star, where the majority of our money is at, does have a higher interest rate, but it's likely to start dropping sooner. So I do want to get some long-term ones out there at a slightly higher rate while we can. We had the February 21st minutes that were sent out. And then the 2 CDs that I had talked about, well, actually one's a CD and the other one's a government agency. We're limited in what we can invest in certain things. But government bonds are one of the things we are allowed to do. The ESSER and ARP funding, as our federal title money runs out, we're going to switch over some of our federally funded employees over to the ESSER money as it finalizes, so we just need the approval for that. Nora Catholic School money that was bought with their state auxiliary funding, they're asking to dispose of. It's mostly outdated textbooks. The final one is the Eclipse excusal for 260-day employees. Part of the calendar this year was to extend the spring break so that we didn't actually have school. And that meant that all of our employees, except for 260-day employees, are off that day. They don't work. And because the way the supervisors and administrators contract year starts on August instead of July, they're also off as a non-work day. So the only people that would be reporting to work were our custodians, maintenance people, and a couple secretaries at the central office. After hearing everything that EMA has to say about what's happening, I'm concerned about our employees would either be going home or our second shift custodians would be coming in at that time frame when the traffic is supposed to just be, yes. So I would like to just make that a work from home day for those employees and avoid.
Janitors, I think.
Yes. Well, and part of it is, we do ask, well, okay, yes, but everything can be from home.
Yes.
And that's all I have for you this month.
You have a motion to approve items 1 through 6 under treasurer report.
So moved.
That was a complete tie. But we want to give that to Joy. Second?
Second.
All right, discussion. I mean, I agree. We closed our medical offices on Monday, Sandusky, Bellevue, and Norwalk. So, I mean, I think some people are kind of laughing that kids aren't in school and stuff, but I think they're underestimating how much truly traffic we're going to have and cell phones.
We don't need thousands of kids walking home.
Yeah.
Right.
Hundreds of thousands of people.
Right, we're stuck in traffic. I mean, we have a lot of kids going. So, yeah.
So I think it's going to be.
Everything's already-
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I mean, I don't think we should have people coming out and then them not being able to get through. So that makes sense to me.
And we will have our lots will be open, so kind of not directly related, but is. I was asked by the meeting yesterday, so all of our lots will be open.
Are you charging $5?
We are not charging, we are not We are keeping our facilities wide out there. People that want to be at Whitney, people that want to be at
I was
Norwalk
just
High
gonna
School.
say, we could have
middle
done
school,
Whitney,
They
but
will land here and we will clean up after part from us. And, but yeah, we're not going to attempt to do Jersey barriers, ropes, things because we'll just, and I think that's the kind of the collective thought by most
yeah.
in the area, like that's what we're doing. So if you get here early, enjoy camping out at Norwalk High School.
I heard there's a lot of fields right across the street here.
Yeah, that'd be great. Well, that'd be something. You want to mention the glasses?
Oh, yes. So Fair Publishing and NASA, grants through NASA, have provided Eclipse glasses for all of our students and staff. So we have administrator meeting tomorrow, those will be distributed to them, and then that last week in March will be, all kids will be receiving their version. So either from Fair Publishing or NASA. So thank you to those two outfits that have made that happen. So our kids will have good eyesight following the eclipse. So, what's that? We will give you glasses. We have enough. Yeah, I have 1,000 over, so if people ask nicely, we'll give you more than one. Yes.
Only next. Right, great. And then I do like that in our agenda. So the ESSER funds are running out and, you know, they were paying for a lot of our staff before the ESSER funds were here, which I wasn't on the board yet, but I know Ralph can attest to. They were looking at layoffs and things like that. And this, you know, one good thing that came out of COVID, I guess, was additional state funding. So we will be running out of that and be moving salaries back over to general funds. So, you know, we will be watching the numbers rather closely to make sure we are staying in the green. I don't know about that. Any other discussion? Okay, roll call.
Okay, Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Norris.
Yes.
Mrs. Burkett. Yes. Mrs. Crawford.
Yes.
Mr. Ritzenhour.
Yes.
Personnel. All right, thank you.
Items for approval, we have employment of substitutes, Mrs. Brandt and Garwood. Number 2, we have resignation of Michelle Wise. She will be missed. She was our longtime secretary and has been multiple jobs, started as an aide and was secretary, so she ended her time with us at Main Street. So she's going to be staying in town and working elsewhere, but well wishes to her. Number 3 is a stipend for those working kindergarten stream. That's an annual list that we have for you. So that is the list of Maplehurst employees. So my shortest list ever for you,
Yeah, that's-
Mrs. President.
I think we have a motion to approve items 1 through 3 under personnel.
So
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Burkett.
yes.
Mr. Ritzenhour.
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford.
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Norris.
Yes.
Superintendent's report.
Under items for approval, we have the internet service provider contract with Noeca. That's an annual contract that the board needs to approve. Number 2, the calendar was presented to you last month at our board meeting. There were no lines that were shared with us from anyone in the community, so we are good, solid. Like I said, again, thank you to Mrs. Gerber. She has done a lion's share of work, and we reached out to many different groups, including working with St. Paul to make sure schedules are in line because we are busing St. Paul students. So that is a strong calendar, and I think most people gave it a double thumbs up. So thank you for your work on that. 3 is an agreement with EHOBE for shared services to offer driver's education program. That's an exciting opportunity for our kids during the day to have that. So, you know, we have outfits in town that very much will have business, and that will continue on. But this is another avenue for our kids to get training in driver's education. Obviously, the stats, the data is clear on that. Those that start early are better drivers going forward into adulthood. So that's something we want to push because far too often students start late, and that's just, or have no interest to begin. And we think this will be a spark to change that game. Number 4, we have 24 to actually 27. That's basically my signature on it, even though the classes that are being offered, that will vary year to year. So that's similar to last month. This is with BGSU. Actually, Mr. Kish is one of the director teachers for a class. So we have that. We have college physics, and we have a writing class. So those are 3 BGSU classes that are actually offered here that our kids seated up here can take those and stay in-house. And obviously, BG being close to BG Firelands, we have a lot of students that attend there as well. So that is the CCP agreement that needs to be approved. Number 5 is a third grade assessment. So this is basically us making the decision that we would like to test our kids in paper format rather than electronic. So that is an annual resolution that has to be passed, has to be signed by the board president. So Mrs. Crawford, that would have to be signed by you if the board agrees to that. Number 6, we have updated board policies. Those were shared with you in documents. Not a lot of policies need to be customized by Norwalk City. So Pebble and Wagner are the writers of our policies. So those generally can be, working for Norwalk, and those other schools that are clients of theirs will be looking at a similar adoption. So those are ones that have been submitted to you. You have the opportunity to look at those. If you have any questions, feel free, but pretty straightforward, pretty basic as to what those entail. So that concludes my superintendent items.
You have a motion to accept items 1 through 6 under superintendent's reports. Second,
Second.
discussion. Joyce, did you have a chance to look at some of these policies? I didn't see anything, but I thought it was in general FMLA and other things. Any other discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Mr. Norris,
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mrs. Burkett. Yes. Mrs. Crawford.
Yes.
Mr. Etzenfeld.
Yes.
Okay, board discussion, anything with legislative report?
Everyone's like, don't need to talk.
There's a lot between them.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Everything is really just,
But nothing,
Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say nothing.
Yeah. I'm worried about the property tax. They're having hearings on the property tax. I just hope that they're collecting a lot of information. I just hope that they really consider it because there's so many moving factors to it. We don't want anything like before. When I was looking back at last year's, it was when we had the House Bill 1 resolution on there when they were looking to eliminate things. And it's just like, there's so many moving parts. I'm glad they're really talking to a lot of different. And they'll be asking the school groups here coming up soon, so.
And I'm sure you're all getting the reading that gets sent to you, emailed to you, that, obviously OSBA is one of the channels, but, yeah, it's a lot of things that may be coming that, so but not definitive of here's what's gonna be, so.
Right.
Number 2 is exciting. Number 2 is real exciting. So, I'm not going to act like I can speak the language that Bryce Hellman spoke to Dan and myself about sound. It's like, we'd be better looking there and doing the baton handoff to those two. We do plan to have Bryce and Robin in some sort of tape version or video to show at our April board meeting, to show actually what was done. My, sales pitch to everyone is to come to the musical starting tomorrow through Sunday, and you will see those. You will see faces that are lit perfectly. You will hear people with their individual mic that'll be crystal clear that we've never had before. So it's simple things as the amp that was turned up, that we have old speakers ready to replace. We probably will in 2 or 3 years from now above the orchestra pit, but literally it can blast you out of that space now. And before you're like, how do we not fill this? And you've heard it. We were actually there the other day and they probably heard it during class and we're like, why is that happening? He turns about 2/3 up and it was loud and we're like, we have classes going, let's turn this back down. But you have the ability to feedback on the stage, so when actors are up there, when people are here, you actually can hear that yourself rather than not knowing your projection of how that sounds. So we have those on the side. Feel free to jump in and explain that better, but essentially to show like the play that's happening and that you can hear yourself. And that's set almost as a default to like, what's the volume, what's being projected, how loud does that need to be for people to hear themselves. So there was a lot of kind of less pretty stuff this time, but the money and all this thing that was spent like behind the walls, so we can't show pictures like last time of like the shiny new speaker, the shiny new, but the work that was put into this by Bryce, he actually extended his time. He almost a full 2 weeks, and he had a schedule. They were like, I'm not gonna get my stuff done. So he actually changed his flight. We got another 4 days out of him, and he left midday today. So had we changed our board meeting time to this morning, we could have had actually the pro explaining these things to you, but you have me doing my best. So yeah, lighting, sound is better, period.
Now I'm glad I didn't take that front row. What's gonna do? Oh, that's exciting.
One other item, we had met with Energy Optimizer. Dan, if you want to explain kind of our plans going forward with that with our boilers, knowing that we're going to have life with these buildings for X number of years before the new build. So we got to have those things planned.
Yes, we met with Energy Optimizers, they, back in, I believe it was like January, they came to Norwalk and, did a tour of the league, examined those boilers, went to Main Street, did the same thing, and looked at, what it would take, number one, we know that league's that has to be replaced. So they looked at Main Street and said, while you're here, look at that. So they put together a quote, I guess, or a proposal, to replace both boilers. So as we were meeting with them, we said, okay, it's a lot of money, but it's needed. So we said, do we have to replace both? Or should we replace both? Well, through that conversation, it was brought up that, the boiler at Main Street had a cracked fire ring, and there was a possibility that that could be repaired. So we said, okay, so we'll put that on hold until we can find out whether or not that has to be replaced or that fire ring can be repaired or replaced to keep that second boiler going in case the main boiler went down. So that's where we are right now. The boiler company is coming in and they're going to tear that down to look at that fire ring to say, yes, it can be repaired. Now, obviously, that's not going to be our main boiler, but it will be a backup in case the other one went down. So right now, we're looking at once that's done to see, where we move with that, if we replace both boilers or replace leak boiler and repair Main Street.
What was the cost for the replacing both?
The leak boiler was what, 291,000, and Main Street was 199,000 to replace it with
Half a
that.
million dollars.
550 together with
Yes.
contingency fund and
Yep.
various permits and whatnot.
So Main Street clearly is newer, so you can see when you look at those, like, that's clearly a next gen, but the other, like, you look at Lee, you look at Central Office, that is an old, you're replacing. So the close to 300 is happening. We're hopeful that because the Main Street one is a second one, and we say for this year, we're almost through the part of the weather that, but if we're solid there, to get that fixed, that can be far under the number that would be for full replacement. So if you look at our life and our years in it, and obviously looking at what the use of that building could be, that could make a difference of like, yeah, we have one and one that's ready to go if that one fails to operate. So if we're looking in the future, that could obviously add value if people are using that existing building if we're not abate, demolish, and remove it.
And that would be a summer project.
So actually Walters they were at Maine today, so starting that initial look to say, okay, for a couple $1,000s, can we see if this is actually repairable rather than just replace the whole thing? So those 2,000 is worth it, not having to do the couple hundred K.
Great. Any other board discussion, comments? Can I have a motion to adjourn? Second? Roll call, please.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mrs. Burkett? Yes. Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenthal?
Yes.
Go enjoy the weather. All right.
You guys all get copies? You're all good? Okay.